Welcome to Coffee with Coaches for the 2022 and 2023 season, a podcast to showcase the achievements of Meeker High School students. Hosting is Tiffany Jahorik, owner-operator of Crystal Meadow Farms and sports director of the Herald Times, and Rich Klinsman, owner-operator of Step Beyond Media. They have discussions over coffee with MHS coaches and teachers. They look back for a week in review and what is coming up for Meeker High School athletes, plus so much more. Welcome, everyone.
Good morning.
It was a big weekend for Cowboys this weekend.
Extremely busy and pretty darn good, too.
Yes, it was. Let's start with the shootout.
Okay, so go ahead.
Yeah, you were at the games.
Go. But you have all the stats.
I have the scores.
So
all the stats were not uploaded yet, so I can't actually talk about the stats, but I have the scores. So Monument, we knew that they weren't going to be very tough coming in because it was their first ever varsity basketball game.
Right.
And the boys did a great job, 80-10. I do think that everybody got to play. Is that correct?
Everybody did get in. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, and I hope I don't miss any of the kids, but I did see a picture, and it looks like, of course, Jace, Ryan, Ethan, Jacob, JT, Casey Brink, Finley Deming, Augie Halstead looks like he's the only freshman on the team.
Right.
Tyler Sanders, and
Alex.
Yep. Garcia, and then there's one more I'm missing.
Crap. Yeah, I can't remember who the last one is.
Yes, give me. Nope, maybe that's it.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's super exciting for them, and then they moved on to Lotus, in another dominating game.
Lotus just wasn't the six. I remember Lotus from last year.
They were good last
year.
They
were really good last year.
They must have had a couple of key players.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And then a super exciting game against Palisade. They were down 2-3 with just a few seconds left, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then, of course, having to foul at the end.
Right.
That shows.
And Lotus made their shots, so.
Palisade. Yeah, and unfortunately, that doesn't show how close the game was. In fact, going into halftime, we were ahead, and they went on a small run, got 4 or 5 points ahead, and then we just couldn't catch back up. Sometimes it got up to 10, sometimes it was down to 4, but it was a great game. Palisade has a couple of really good players. But I'll tell you what, our inside
And are they
game,
4A or are they 5A?
They're 5A.
Yeah, because there's 6 classifications in basketball, so I thought maybe that they were 5A.
Exactly.
So that's amazing.
Yeah. And I tell you what, our inside game looked really good.
Who was down low?
Down low, starting, it was JT, and I cannot remember who the other starter was, but then Jacob Simonson would come in, and we were as tall as Palisade was, which is, compared to the last couple of years, that's pretty impressive with our team compared to, usually we're a little bit shorter. And I tell you what, we were hitting threes, Jace Mobley and Ryan and Ethan. And Casey hit a few. I mean, it was just a fantastic game by our team. Shows a lot of promise in our team this year.
Yes, and there's with Jace, Ryan, Ethan, and of course Casey. They have a ton of varsity time, so a ton of maturity on the court right now. And you saw it on the football field, like we were talking about, and I think you're seeing it now on the basketball court. So that's pretty cool.
It really is, and it bodes well for this year and for next year.
Yeah,
for our team.
Super exciting. I'm sorry I missed the games. We had lots of wrestling. Lots and lots of wrestling.
Lots of wrestling.
So let's talk about that really quickly. So, we did wrestle duels against Buena Vista and Cedar Edge on Friday night. We beat Buena Vista pretty easily. They have one, maybe 2 pretty good kids. And of course, we had 2 open weights. Not only did we have 2 open weights at 150 and 157, we also had 2 kids that aren't even down to weight. So one of them, they were both wrestling, one of them 2 levels up. So they were, having to wrestle some big kids.
That makes a big difference.
It does, yes. And so we lost by 7 points, I think, to Cedar Edge or something like that. And, 2 open weights is 12 points.
Exactly.
So, if we would have had maybe even 1 or 2 people, we would have dominated them.
Right. And I actually think Saturday kind of shows more where we're at. And I'm just talking against Cedar Edge.
Right.
Because if you look at the difference in points, and you'll talk about this on Saturday, that's where it's really at.
Yeah. Yeah. So We have Coach Trevor Grant coming in because Coach Justin Grant actually just ran a half Ironman in Florida yesterday.
He's nuts.
I know. So Judd and I were following him, and they swim, bike, run, and so he did this like weird swimming thing out in this pond, and then or it's probably a lake because it was 13 miles, or it was 1.2 miles, so it was more like a lake, not a pond, and then rode his bike 50 miles and then ran 13 miles. And I'm like, well, I just don't even want to do. Well,
and he had like one of those. Yeah, no kidding. But he had one of those watches or whatever, so you could actually track exactly where his it was. Mm-hmm. In fact, how long it took for him to change clothes.
Yes.
It even tracked that. I mean, that's.
I think it was like 45 seconds or something that one time. I was like, no, but yeah, that was super fun. But when we did win the whole tournament, and because we have Trevor here, we'll talk a little bit more about how the kids did individually. But we won 202 points to like 160 something was Moffat County.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and going into the final round, it looked like we were close with Moffat, right? And then we just kept beating the Moffat kids.
Yeah, well, yes. And then there were a lot of Moffat kids in the placing rounds, and a lot of them were getting beat.
Right.
There was one big upset, and that was Connor Blunt and Michael Voloshin. I don't know if you watched that one, but the ref, Connor got a takedown, got Michael on his back, and actually started counting, and then took all the points away. So that was crap. But anyway. Yeah. And then in JV, we had two kids that placed. Zeke Gianetti took second down at the rifle JV tournament. Great. And Aiden Tapia took third. Yes. And we didn't have quite a full JV team this week because I think some of them were sick and some things like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So anyway, I think that's it. We'll wrap that up for now and come back with Coach Grant.
Crystal Meadow Farms is family-owned and operated, offering a wide range of CBD products. Coming from 5 generations of farming, Crystal Meadow Farms offers farm-to-table products. In-house CBD extraction using beverage-grade CO2 since 2019. They create a CBD oil without the use of harmful chemicals. Their retail products are handcrafted using organic and natural ingredients and are some of the strongest on the market. They offer a range of CBD tinctures, spa products, a pet line, gummies for day and night, and a large line of topicals.
Welcome, Trevor. Coach Grant, thank you for coming in today.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so let's I let everybody know kind of the two placing kids at JV, but it was you went to the rifle JV tournament with the kids this weekend, and let's talk a little bit about that, how'd they do?
Yes, it was a small JV team because we actually sent a decent amount of our JV to the varsity tournament. They were ready to compete. It actually showed. We'll talk about that a little bit here before too long. The kids that went to rifle also performed very well. We had a second place, a third place, fourth place. We had one more than that.
Yeah, and we had a couple of kids getting their first varsity wins too, which is amazing for them.
Yes.
Or not varsity, sorry.
JV.
Yep.
High school.
Their first high school wins.
High school.
Yeah, they're young.
Yeah.
Yep. And really, the level that they're wrestling at compared to even just a few weeks ago when we started the season has already shown tremendous improvement. And like Zeke making the finals was a cool thing for him. Should be a great confidence builder for him. Mm-hmm. His level of wrestling compared to this time last year has also tremendously improved. And then the young guys, the freshmen, like Tristan, the bracket didn't show it very well. However, Tristan Rollins wrestled very, very well and competed against some tough kids. There was JV teams from like Fruta and Grand Junction, and he ran into a couple tough kids and still performed very well.
Yes, and before we move on again to the varsity, they have a good tournament coming up this weekend too. The JV kids do. They get to go to Fruta, which, the varsity will be at. Pretty much every other team sends their kids to that Fruta JV tournament.
Yeah, it's like the JV Warrior. It's a great opportunity for them to get really good mat time. I would say it's even comparative to like a small school varsity tournament.
Right. And is that a 2-day tournament too? Friday, Saturday for the JV?
I believe so, yes.
I think so too.
Yep.
Yes.
They run it like they did in the past.
Yes. And so I was talking a little bit before you came in the room about the duels and saying that the scores didn't really reflect how we did against Cedar Edge. We had 2 open weights. We only lost by 7 points. We had 2 open weights. And we had 2 kids that haven't quite descended down to their weight that they want to be at yet.
Right.
Yep. The fun thing about duels is that, you get to go head to head against another team. Like Cedar Edge is a good team.
Yes, they are.
So it's fun to do that. However, it's not always an accurate depiction of what the team has in store for tournament. It's just because it scores so differently.
Right.
I think Saturday kind of showed
Right.
the difference that we were ready for tournament competition, even though we didn't have our lineup completely set perfectly for the duel.
Yes.
And Cedar Edge is good.
Yes.
So it was great. Actually, I think it's a great thing to duel teams like that, and maybe they don't go the way we want in the beginning of the season. Just put a little fire into the kids to step up.
Yes. Yes. And so we had quite a few kids place at the tournament.
Yes. So the varsity tournament, like we alluded to a second ago, we sent the full varsity team as well as a handful of the JV kids, and every single one of them performed very, very well. Now, starting for the placing kids, Clay, he finished 4th, wrestling in a very tough bracket. Actually, you talked about kids not being at their weight classes that we want yet. Clay's one of those kids that he may be changing weight classes, just waiting on descent plans, and the matches that he lost were against ranked competitive kids, and he still
Right.
battled with them. And so to come through and place 4th in the bracket that he did was awesome.
It looks like that's going to be one of the tougher weights this year.
It normally is.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, exactly.
Yep. Just a lot of, you get physically mature and athletic kids at that weight.
Right.
Yep. And Trey, he's up 2 weight classes from
The
where he
previous
was.
weekend.
Yep, from the previous weekend. That's kind of some of that weight class juggling that we're talking about. We're getting him and Clay into the right weight classes, waiting on weight descent plans, and so he still performed excellently. Coming through and placing 3rd against those heavier kids was great for him. And then the kids that made it into the finals, we had lots of kids in the finals from 144s all the way up. Abe, it was an awesome performance for Abe to win. This is his first varsity tournament win.
Yes.
And it was just really cool to see him perform well. He ended up beating a kid that pinned him the week before, not just beating him, but majoring him 17-4. That's a pretty awesome win. Yeah, so it was a great way for him to show up. Connor made the finals also, Connor Blunt, and he lost to Voloshin from Craig, who's 3rd ranked in their class. However, Connor's response to that loss was really good. He told me that I've just got to get better, and there's some things that I can do differently in that match to win. Didn't point the finger at anybody else, just took accountability, and he's ready to come back and
Voloshin
beat him
is
next weekend.
similar to Buzz in that he's so freaking tall, and those high hips. So. But Connor did really well, and he responded really, really well and very maturely to that final play call or the final call at the end of the tournament.
Hey, Connor knows to take self-accountability for losses. It should
Yep.
never be in the ref's hand anyway.
Yeah.
And Connor knows that. And Connor's going to get a few more shots at him because Connor also will potentially be changing weight classes. However, it's not going to be able to for a few weeks until probably after Christmas if he makes that decision to. And so there's a couple more tournaments that we'll run into him, one of them being the Warrior this weekend. I would guess that it will probably be Connor and Voloshin in the finals again, and it'll go differently this weekend.
Yes, it will.
Yep. Cade at 175, he made the finals and pinned his way all the way through it, wrestled very dominantly. And Buzz also. So going back to Friday night, Buzz had a great win over Hayden Camp, first period pin from Cedar Edge.
Buena Vista.
Or Buena Vista, yes, correct. Thank you. Yep, that's a great win for Buzz. Just kind of shows where he's at in comparison to rebounding from his injuries last year.
Right.
For a great season. And then, Judd, your son, is wrestling dominantly as always, and I suspect that's going to continue on. He will run into some tough kids that'll push him a little bit more. but I have no doubt that it'll look the same as it did this weekend.
Yeah, he's got the Pueblo West kid this weekend.
Yeah, that'll be good. It'll give him confidence because he'll see where he's really at and that he really has progressed to this great level. So, Yep. And you know, at 215s we also had Hayden. So he's JV, and the cool thing about our lineup right now is that we say he's JV, yet he's so competitive. You know, we've got a lot of competitive kids on JV just because we have a tough team. We have depth. It's a good problem to have. So Hayden came through and took third, wrestled very competitively at 215s as well. And then heavyweights, we had Tanner Musser. He made it to the finals in dominant fashion, even though he might not have been feeling up to his best standard.
He actually, in my opinion, this weekend, because he met Fabian, whatever the Montrose kid, right? He met him last weekend and this weekend.
Correct.
And it was a totally different match this weekend. He wrestled him with way more head, way more heart. Yep. It was phenomenal. It was fun to watch him this weekend. And that Montrose kid, I mean, come on, he's nationally ranked. Like he's amazing.
Nationally ranked kid. Yep.
Yeah.
And so
but Tanner did a great job.
Yeah, Tanner wrestled very, very well, and I was impressed with his attitude going into the finals. And just, you know, since I was with the JV team in rifle, we watched it live stream. Thank you. For streaming it. And I could just see his whole demeanor was different than it was the previous weekend when he stepped on the mat with that kid. So that was awesome. And Noah at heavyweights also competed very well, placed fifth, and he's, you know, on our JV team as well. Like I said, we have, especially in those upper weights, we have some JV kids that would be very competitive at the state level. And we never know what the lineup will shake out as far as health and competition level, but it's awesome to have depth and have kids pushing each other and getting better all the way through the lineup.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It is awesome. Yeah, it was a fun time. So I think you have some fun facts for us.
Yes. Fun facts for the weekend. Abe, Cade, Buzz, they all won the tournament. That was their first varsity tournament win, which is a really cool thing, and they did it in dominant fashion, all of them. Cade, Buzz, and Judd, so far up to this point, have pinned every wrestler. There's a funny side bet with me and Cade and Connor about pins for the year, so hopefully they pull it out. And then, for us, we picked up 21 pins in 40 matches as a team.
That's incredible.
That's just dominant. It just shows dominance. It's a great thing. And so we'll keep rolling that, and it'll be an awesome thing. And as far as team scores go for Saturday, we talked about how the tournaments are different than the duels. We came out with 202.5 points, winning the tournament at the varsity level. And so not all the JV guys score, for those that don't understand, just the varsity lineup does. So if those guys were scoring, it would have been even better. And then Moffett County was behind us with, I believe, 164, and Cedar Ridge fell behind them. So, we talked about losing the duel to Cedar Ridge and then turning around on Saturday and performing very well and stepping up to another level. So it was awesome.
Yes.
Phenomenal weekend.
Yes, and so then this weekend coming up, we have the Warrior.
Yes. Warriors, one of the best tournaments of the year. It's a great opportunity for our kids to go and showcase, their talent, the level that they've achieved, because they've been putting in all the work to achieve the success. And so there'll be bigger schools there. It's a very, very competitive tournament, and I have no doubt that our kids will show up and compete very well there.
Yes, it's 32-man brackets, but 43 teams are showing up. So there'll be a round of wrestle-ins before everything starts.
And do the pigtails with the larger brackets. So 43 teams. It just creates a very competitive environment. It doesn't matter if they're small schools, big schools. You get that many schools together, you're going to run into studs in every single bracket.
Well, and you're getting Utah and Wyoming, so a couple of teams from Utah and Wyoming in there. So, and that's some of their best in the state.
Yeah, it's Uinta's coming. I think I didn't see that Juab team was coming, but they're usually pretty tough too.
And then the ones that we don't run into there from Utah, right when I come back from Christmas.
Speaking of,
we'll run into them.
The TOC, Ray is going to be there.
Yes, Ray will be coming to town for, well, not to our town, but to Vernal.
Well, actually, we're trying to get.
Yeah, they're trying to get them to duel us on the way through.
That would be amazing.
I reached out to a couple people in Ray that I know because I grew up only like 70 miles from Ray, and so they're like, yes, let's see what we can get done.
Yeah, there's a handful of things to consider in it though. Chassis limitations on competitions, things like that, and so if we can make it work,
It'd be awesome.
I think it'd be cool to host Ray in a home duel.
Because they really are our main competition going into state, probably, right?
That's
you think team-wise?
That's the way it appears right now.
I mean, yeah, because at least going into last week, they
Centauri
were 1, we
moved
were
up.
2. Right, and Centauri moved up, so...
It should be Ray and us and Cedar Ridge should be that in that top 3, assuming everything continues to pan out.
Right.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. I said that in the wrong order. Us and Ray and then Cedar Ridge.
There you go. There you go.
Yes. Yes. Well, thank you so much for coming in this morning.
Yes, thank you. And look out for next weekend. We're gonna have a great showing.
Yes, I think we will. We haven't quite figured out if it's going to be televised on Flow Sports yet or not, but
it was last year, so I would assume it will be this year.
Yes, so. I think so. Yes.
Okay.
All right.
We'll be live streaming ours.
Yeah.
So.
Cool.
Yes, for sure. The spinals. Mm-hmm.
All right.
There's too many maths to do it otherwise.
Oh yeah, exactly. Way too many maths.
All right. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Welcome back. So it's always so nice to have our kids being so competitive in all their sports.
It really is. And I'm impressed with both all the boys basketball and the wrestling.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, it's going to be an exciting year for sure. So speaking of all of that, we actually have our last competitions this weekend until after the first of the year. And so starting with the girls basketball, Aspen moved into their league this year, just for girls, not for boys. And so they're actually headed to Aspen on Friday for a JV and varsity lineup games. The times weren't on the website yet or on the schedule, so I'm not quite sure. Clark will send those out a bit later today. And then Friday, our boys are actually hosting Vale Christian.
Right.
And that'll be a C team beginning at 4. So there's C team, JV, and varsity for that. Both of those teams have 20 plus kids, so they have like 5 teams worth of kids. Right. That's nice. Like we were talking with Trevor, the JV boys will be at Fruta, which is still a very tough tournament.
It's a great tournament.
And then the other boys the varsity boys will be at the Warrior.
Right.
Which is always a fun tournament as well. And he said that those were going to be on Flow. Well, he said that the Warrior was going to be on Flow. We'll confirm that. We'll post the links. The only problem with that is you have to have a subscription for it.
Right.
And it can be very, very expensive to get done. But other than that, let's talk about our athlete of the week. You know, it is hard when you have all these kids doing so very well. You had Jace Mobley making the all-tournament team. You had how many first-place ones? 1, 2, 3, 4 first-place kids at, you have, you have 1, 2, 3. I believe you have 3 kids right now on the wrestling team that are undefeated on the season.
And this is the first time we've actually had to have like a discussion and we had a disagreement.
We did have a disagreement.
But that's a good thing to have.
Yes,
that's a
but
very
I
good
won.
thing to have.
Yeah. And
Tiffany won.
Yes. And so Buzz, whatever you want to say, is our athlete of the week. He just has been wrestling phenomenally. He had an injury last year that kept him out of a significant portion of the season. Right. He bounced right back at regionals and made it to state. But now he is back in full form, and it's so fun to watch. He had a super dominating win over the quarterback from Buena Vista, Hayden Camp. And I believe that Hayden is trying to go play football someplace.
Okay.
And I don't remember where it's at, but I believe that he is. So, he's definitely an athlete, and Buzz just dominated him in our duel against Buena Vista. And then he went on to pin his way through the Delta tournament and win his first varsity tournament of the year, or of the ever, actually.
Yeah, ever. Yeah.
Yes.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
Yes. So congratulations, Buzz.
Congratulations,
on Athlete
Buzz.
of the Week. All right. Well, I think that's it.
All right.
All right. Go Cowboys.
Go Cowboys.